So Samuel had to be anointed by God to go in and to speak to Eli to warn him of his sins. However, they didn't listen, and Eli's sons died in a horrific way. But God spoke out loud in these instances. God does speak. God speaks through other things. He speaks through angels. You remember the angel that came to Abraham down the dusty road? They came to Abraham. God felt it that he had to do something special to speak to Abraham, so he sent these angels. Told Abraham he was going to be having a child. When Sarah laughed, the angels asked, why does Sarah laugh? God will go through any means to inform us, to tell us, to speak to us, especially when it's extremely important. Then the angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah, and the angels informed Lot that he needed to escape. The angels came to Mary. Real important thing, the birth of Jesus is about to occur. Let me speak to this woman in a special way. So he sent the angels. Mary, you're going to be having a son. His name will be called Jesus. He will be the Savior of your people. Then the shepherds in the field, for unto this day is born to you in the house of David Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you, the angel said. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes. God is speaking through the angels. I remember Jan Crouch of TBN. She was very petrified of flying. And she said one day she got on the plane and she was horrifically frightened. Jan and Paul Crouch created a Christian network that is unparalleled in the world. And this was at the beginning of their founding of this network. And they had to fly all over the world in order to get their stations in other countries. So the devil put a fear upon Jan Crouch for flying. And this was something though, but she had to do it because God had chosen them to plant Christian stations all over the world, and now they are all over the world. I think TBN is about 38 years old, and she was just petrified to get on a plane, and it was just like she would have a breakdown every time. So she said she got on the plane, and she said she was just trembling with fear, and she said suddenly she looked out the window, and on the wing of the plane was an angel, and she said the angel just waved at her. And she waved at the angel, and she looked, and the angel was still there. And then when she looked away to tell somebody there was an angel, she looked back, and the angel was gone. So God was speaking to her. It's going to be all right. You're going to be all right. You're going to be traveling all over the world. You cannot have any fear. I am with you. My angels are with you. I am with you. God speaks to us through angels. He's telling us we need to be free to give, that we need to give to the poor. We need to give to whomsoever asks of us. He is speaking to us when angels appear to us. Do not forget to entertain strangers unawares, right? Because in doing so, you may be entertaining angels without knowing it. Okay, God speaks also through dreams and visions. Have you had a dream that you feel God has given you? Have you had a vision that you feel God has given you? God gives dreams when things are important. He gave a dream to Joseph to take the baby Jesus and go to Egypt. What would have happened if God had not? He came to gave Joseph a vivid dream. What would have happened if Joseph had not had this dream, if God had not spoken to Joseph through this dream? Herod had ordered the murder of all babies 2 years and under, and Jesus would have been among those babies. What would have happened if Herod had killed our Savior in his infancy? We would be lost. So God gave Joseph a dream. Take this baby to Egypt. Escape now. And then he said, in Egypt, he said, take this baby to Nazareth. Why? Because the prophets had said that he shall be called a Nazarene. We have got to get the prophecy to come to pass. So Joseph gets another dream, and he takes the baby to Nazareth. Jesus had to be born in Nazareth because that was where the synagogue was, where he was going to teach. That's where the Jews were who were going to persecute him. That's where the fulfillment of the prophecy that he shall be called a Nazarene. So these dreams that Joseph was given, these are dreams that are of utmost importance to our salvation. The dream that Pharaoh was given catapulted Joseph into the prime ministry of Egypt at a very important time. He needed to be there because he had the key to the famine. He had the key to, God gave him the key to saving the people during the years of famine. God gave him the plan, the interpretation of the dream. And visions. What are visions? Visions are things that we see when we're not asleep. And God gives us visions. As I have been given a vision, this vision that I am afraid to even describe it to people because it is so huge. But God gives us vision. He speaks through visions. If He speaks through a vision, it is just as real as if He has spoken out loud to you. If He speaks through a dream, it's just as real as if He had spoken out loud to you. God speaks through vision. Look at the vision that Peter got. You remember the vision where the cloth, the blanket came down, and on the blanket, and Peter was wide awake, he was on the rooftop of his house, and on this blanket were a lot of clean and unclean animals. And you know, Jews were not permitted, were not, by the laws of their religion, they were not supposed to eat of the unclean. But God, in that vision, told Peter to rise and eat. And as a result of the vision that Peter got, what happened? The Gentiles, which were considered unclean, were brought to the saving grace of Jesus Christ because they began to preach and teach to the Gentiles. And they began to realize that the Gentiles were also to be included.